The year is 1985, and Tobe Hooper, a famed filmmaker of horror films, has just finished filming Poltergeist, a script that is based on a pulpy science fiction horror novel called The Space Vampires has been provided to him, along with a big budget and complete creative freedom. And what he delivers is something that Hollywood and moviegoers were not prepared for: Lifeforce, a wild blend of apocalyptic horror, sci-fi extravaganza, and, of course, one of the most infamous on-screen nudity displays in the history of the medium. However, if you have heard anything about Lifeforce, it is probably about its most known production oddity, which is Hooper's remarkable level of attention to Mathilda May's presentation. Let's be honest about this. It is a narrative that took place behind the scenes, but it has since begun to overshadow the picture itself. However, there is a great deal more to Lifeforce than just a single peculiar concern with directing. The picture is a sci-fi horror epic that is grandiose, messy, hypnotic, and completely unique. It is still considered to be one of the most ambitious films of its period, despite the fact that it was accomplished in a weird manner. Before we delve into the most peculiar aspects of the production, let's take a moment to discuss the factors that contribute to the singularity of the cinematic experience that is Lifeforce. Churchill, a space shuttle, makes the discovery that a massive extraterrestrial spacecraft measuring 150 meters in length is concealed in the tail of Halley's comet at the beginning of the movie. The comet was selected for the tail because it was scheduled to pass by Earth in 1986, which was just 1 year after the film was released. Hooper believed that this would give the picture more significance. Therefore, he chose the comet during this time. On the inside, the astronauts discovered hundreds of animals that resembled shriveled bodies, as well as 3 beings that appeared to be human and were hung in crystalline pods. There were 2 men and 1 woman, and they were naked. This is what they do. They are brought back to the planet itself, due to the fact that what could possibly go wrong? As things turn out, quite a bit. As soon as the female figure, who was portrayed by the entrancing Mathilda May, first comes to consciousness, she immediately proceeds to drain the life essence from everyone she comes into contact with, leaving behind shriveled and dried up husks. Her nakedness mesmerizes the security personnel, the scientists, and pretty much any man who has a pulse as she makes her way through a high-security research center. However, it is not just her attractiveness that makes her such a terrible person. It is her presence that defies description. With eyes that are piercing and an elegance that is uncanny and seductive, she moves in a manner that is reminiscent of a predator who is aware of the power she possesses. Unsettling as it is unforgettable, this performance is sure to leave a lasting impression. Things are just going to increase in strangeness as the story goes on. As the movie progresses, it becomes clear that May's character is not a typical vampire. Rather, she is a member of an ancient alien civilization that has been visiting Earth for ages, which has inspired the mythology that are associated with traditional vampires. At the same time that the energy-draining epidemic is spreading like wildfire, London is being transformed into a vampiric Armageddon. It is not enough for victims to simply pass away. They are resurrected, and ravenous for additional life power, which results in some of the most terrifying episodes in the movie. As a result of the city's descent into anarchy, bodies begin to pile up in the streets, soldiers begin firing wildly, and survivors are desperately attempting to stop the outbreak before all of humanity is destroyed. In the meantime, Colonel Tom Carlson, played by Steve Railsback, is the only person to have survived the Churchill expedition. There is a peculiar telepathic connection between him and the female vampire. However, his visions not only direct the search for her, but they also draw him farther into her sphere of influence. At one point in the movie, in a very weird turn of events, Carlson and Dr. Armstrong, who is portrayed by a younger version of Patrick Stewart, have a psychic connection that is so strong that it results in a mind-melding kiss. This is one of the most peculiar and infamous moments in the movie. By the time Carlson eventually confronts the extraterrestrial vampires in the film's climax, the future of the entire world is being determined by the outcome of the conflict. The life force that was behind the camera was just as wild as the life force that was shown on television. With a budget of $25 million, which was enormous for a production by Canon Films, it was one of the most ambitious projects that the business had ever undertaken. While Hooper was still riding the high from Poltergeist, he was granted the freedom to direct the film in the manner that he desired. On the other hand, creative freedom is not without its difficulties. The movie went past its allotted time and budget, and it had to cut some important scenes since there was not enough money. The original version of the film was almost 2 hours long. However, it was trimmed down to 116 minutes for international release, and then it was cut even shorter to 101 minutes for audiences in the United States. This resulted in a narrative that was slower and more confusing. To add insult to injury, there is a dispute surrounding Mathilda May. Despite the fact that she was just 18 years old at the time of production, May was chosen for the role because she was one of the few actors who was ready to spend the majority of her screen time naked. But the attention that Hooper paid to her appearance went above and beyond what is often expected of a filmmaker. At first, it was determined that she should be completely waxed in order to give the impression that she was more alien. In spite of this, Hooper subsequently remarked that the end result was that she appeared to be excessively nude, to the point that it was almost uncomfortable. This resulted in a peculiar reversal in which she had to regrow some of her hair, and a makeup artist was delegated the responsibility of meticulously grooming and even tinting it each morning in order to conform to Hooper's vision. There were members of the crew who found this emphasis to be too unsettling, and the makeup artist herself later regarded it as one of the most peculiar duties she had ever been given. The problematic production of the movie did not end there after that. As a result of financial overruns, several crucial scenes were never shot, and at one point, the production of the movie was momentarily halted because the company simply ran out of money before it could continue. Special effects, which were directed by John Dykstra, a former member of the Star Wars team, constituted yet another obstacle. There were some effects in the movie that were innovative, such as the creepy blue energy beams that transferred life power, but there were also some effects that haven't aged as well, such as the rubbery corpses that were gradually shrinking. The vision that Hooper had was big, but the technology that was available at the time was not always capable of keeping up with it. Lifeforce is not without its moments of unquestionable genius. Despite the fact that its narrative is chaotic, the picture is given a grand, even operatic feel by the bombastic orchestral score composed by Henry Mancini, which makes the sense of tragedy that is occurring as London falls apart even more intense. Although it is a significant departure from the jazzy songs that Mancini typically composes, it is an excellent choice for a film that is so extravagant. On the other hand, when Lifeforce was released in theaters, viewers were at a loss for what to think of it. Despite having a big budget, the movie generated only $1 million in revenue, which is a spectacular failure. In the same way, critics were perplexed. The New York Times' Janet Maslin referred to it as hysterical vampire porn, while others were simply perplexed by the subtle shifts in tone that it contained. Was the movie a horror movie? Is it a science fiction adventure? A movie about aliens trying to seduce humans? It was revealed that the answer was all of the above, and the crowd was not prepared for that result. Lifeforce is widely regarded as one of the most weird, ambitious, and unforgettable science fiction horror films that was released in the 1980s for the first time. Despite the fact that many of the film's risks did not pay off at the time, they have since contributed to the picture's legacy as a cult classic. It is a film that took incredible chances. Now is the moment for you to provide feedback. Would you like to watch Lifeforce? Do you believe that it should receive greater recognition, or do you consider it to be a train wreck that is incredibly entertaining? And what are your thoughts on the choices that Tobe Hooper has made as a director? Let's discuss it in the comments section, shall we?